G'day, welcome. Callum Marchbank time. Another report card for 2022. Not a lot to talk about in regards to playing. So this will be more of a, I suppose, an historical video, so to speak. Just having a look at where he's come from and what he's been up against since he started, really, in the AFL. And maybe even before he was even drafted. 25 years of age, 26 in December. He'll turn 26. Seems like he's been around for such a long time now, and that's still very young. Only the 52 games and 4 games this year. That is the tiniest positive, considering he played no football in 2020 and 2021. To get 4 games at AFL level plus 4 games at VFL level this year, it has to be seen as a small positive. Game span now, 5 and 2 at the Giants in his first 2 years, then came to us 16, 12, 13. Had a couple of seasons, as I mentioned, without playing any football at all because of injury, and 4 games this year. He's a defender. Has he been trialled in other positions? Not as yet. He's a defender, intercept defender, although I think he showed in the games he played this year that he's a pretty bloody solid defensive type defender as well, not just an intercept player. Contract status, 2023. The club decided to give him a 1-year contract, which was announced at the end of the year. Would he have got that contract if he didn't play any football this year? They did it for Cunningham. Whether Marchbank would have been afforded the same luxury, I'm not quite sure. But they've decided to roll the dice with Caleb, and he gets another year at the football club, which is good. Which is good for him, and I think good for us as well. I'll get to that later. 2014 draft pick 6. And by Sauce. Sauce was responsible for taking Marchbank at pick 6 at the Giants. And we know he came to us after 2 years at GWS. In that trade period, we got Marchbank and small forward Jared Pickett. I think we gave up a future first, and picks 45 and 58. And we got Marchbank Pickett in a future second round pick. So I want to talk really at the start of this video around context and his body, and just doing a little bit of research on Caleb Marchbank. These issues that he's had, really since he started in the AFL were I suppose plagued him even as a junior at TAC Cup level, before he was even drafted by the Giants. So I'll just read this. A back injury sidelined Caleb Marchbank for most of 2013, which was his bottom age year in the TAC Cup. But he made up for it with a promising draft season the following year. Marchbank played the first 2 games of the Murray Bush Rangers TA Cup season, which was his bottom age year, last year. And in his second encounter was kneed in the back. It left him with stress fractures and kept him out of action for 6 months. That's a long time. It's a long time for a junior to be kept out of football. A long rehab process meant Marchbank entered this season, which was 2014, feeling confident with his body, and he was able to piece together an impressive block of form in the NAB Under-18 Championships for Vic Country. He won all Australian honours, and was hoping to carry that form into the TAC Cup season before a knee injury ruled him out of the end of the season. He missed the National Combine with the injury, but is expected to be back running by the time the November draft comes along. And also found out in his 7 games he played across 2 seasons at the Giants, his second season was cut short, really. Was limited through foot and shoulder injuries. So he even had a little bit of a history at the Giants before he came to us in 2016. quickly on his Carlton injuries, he's had a fractured vertebrae in the neck, bone bruising in the knee, which kept him out of 2020, then ruptured his ACL when he finally made his comeback in the VFL, and a torn meniscus this year. And that's not to mention the niggles he had when he only played 28 out of a possible 44 games in his first two seasons at the club. He's just had a wretched run with plenty of injuries. The only injuries he really hasn't suffered, I don't know whether this is a positive, I really don't, is he hasn't really succumbed to any soft tissue injuries. It's more been fractures and ruptures and, really sort of like, almost seems like bad luck type injuries in regards to, well, all types of injuries. There's an element of bad luck, but I don't know whether, they're not hamstrings or continued calf complaints. They've been really big ones, big injuries, and the back and the neck and the feet and the knees. They're long periods in the rehab room on the sidelines. He's only played, as I said, the 52 games across his time in the AFL. Let's have a look at his season snapshot. Ruptured that ACL. That was the last, I suppose. Well, it was really the big one last year. He did that in the VFL on the 10th of April. And he really look at it, he must have had a pretty good run in regards to his rehab with that ACL, because he came back. I mean, David Cunningham, he did his knee after Marchbank. We never saw any of him this year, whereas, Marchbank came back into the VFL against Frankston in round 7. It was great to see him come back, and he made an immediate impact in that game. At VFL level. Although we got beaten, we were in control of that game. I think he may have even gone off at three-quarter time. He had that sort of, that limited game time. He went off the ground, but he starred. He was excellent. Then he butted up again against Sandringham, a combined 36 disposals, 13 marks across those two games. Meant that they thought he was ready to go, and he got finally, after, 1,069 days, he played his first game of AFL football against the Essendon Football Club on a Friday night at the G. In a win. It was good to see him back in that role, whether it was deep in defence or whether it was across half-back, centre-back, wherever it was great to see him back. He didn't dominate, but he showed his customary courage in that game. And it was great to see him get through, and we saw him in the rooms after the game, singing the song. He looked excited, and then, early in the week, come Monday, it was reported that he had a little bit of soreness on the Saturday and Sunday. Went in for a scan, and it showed that he'd torn his meniscus. And the club reported he went under the knife pretty much straight away, and would miss the next 6 to 8 weeks. I can't remember if it was the opposite knee to his ACL, but it was just like, what the hell's going on with the poor bastard? And I personally at that stage thought, well, let's just cut our losses, really. This poor bastard's body isn't cut out for AFL, but he put the work in and came back. They said 6 to 8 weeks, and he came back pretty much right on time back into the VFL, played back-to-back games in round 18 and round 19 against GWS and Williamstown in the VFL, where he impressed, and then he was straight back in to our team. And unfortunately, came in against Brisbane, really poor loss, and played in the Melbourne and Collingwood close losses. But from a positive point of view, he strung together 3 games at the end of the year. And I suppose it's a bit of it takes you back a little bit to Charlie and what he was able to do, at the back end of last year, just get those games under his belt. Because he essentially, when you think about it, he played 2 in the VFL, then played 3 in a row at senior level. That's 5 games in a row, and then goes away going, okay, I got through that little period. It's the best I've been able to do for such a long time at this level. And when we saw glimpses in those, particularly the last two games against Melbourne or Collingwood, that if he's up and going, and he is fit, and there's a level of confidence that he is an integral part. He has to be an integral part of our makeup, particularly in our back 6 or 7. Statistically, I mean, 4 games. I think the ones I like, which he are elite in, the one-on-one, spoils and 1%ers. It really showed me that he was someone who was just really happy to get back and really desperate to impress not only his teammates but his new coaching. Michael Voss and the people have had a lot of faith in him as well. He was just, he was desperate. I mean, particularly in that game against Essendon, he was throwing himself around. And even late in those games against Melbourne and Collingwood, he certainly showed that he was up for the fight. Above average in intercept marks, I think that's one of his real strengths. That will only get better as well. I think he's an elite intercept mark, or he's got the capabilities of being a very good intercept mark. And I think you combine that with, his strong defensive efforts. I think it's a pretty good package if we can get him up and going. Average in rebound 50s, but you would expect that to increase with confidence and below average at disposals. And you would expect a player of his capabilities, and he showed at VFL level, he can find the pill. And I think that will come with confidence. But it's all about getting him on the park. For me, he's got some real strengths. We just haven't been able to see them consistently or any continuity in his football. But I think the fact that he's been on the sidelines for such a long time and has had so many setbacks that he's a really resilient character. There's no doubt about that. These are serious injuries he's had to overcome. Hopefully, this is the last we see of the real serious stuff. I think he's really smart. I think he's a really smart player, courageous. Seen him do some incredibly courageous things on the football field, particularly. And he gets a fractured neck. I mean, it's no surprise to me. You look at that injury at under 18 level in his first year. That's a kid that goes against the flight of the ball and gets kneed in the back. I think he's intercept marking, very strong in the air for his size, 193 centimetres. It's funny, I used as a strength steady and reliable, considering he's never on the park. But what I mean by that, I don't know, I just feel like he's safe. He's a really safe option. You look at someone like Lockie Plowman, who you just never feel comfortable with. But someone like Callum Marchbank, there's just a reliability about the way he plays and a steadiness, particularly if he can get some footy under his belt, and just be there for a significant period of time. I think he's got a nice balance. I think he's shown that he's got a nice balance between being an intercept defender and also being able to lock down. For me, weaknesses, I don't think he's overly good kick. I'm not saying he's a poor kick, but he's not going to cut the opposition to ribbons. You'd rather the ball in the hands of someone like a Mitch McGovern. He's not a meters gain type of defender who can kick the ball long with penetration. I think he lacks a little bit of speed for his size at 193 centimetres. You probably prefer someone of that size to be able to, at times, be able to lock down on a speedy hybrid forward, like a Bailey Fritsch. Is there question marks on whether he's able to do that? Because he's going to struggle against the monsters as well. So he's caught a little bit between, that size of being able to lock down on a big, or being a little bit too slow to go with one of those sort of speedy forwards. So that's a slight concern for me. And then the durability. And with that durability comes confidence. How long is it going to be before he really feels like he belongs again? I think it only took Charlie this year to know that he really belongs again. How many games in a row does he need to string together to feel really confident and feel like, this is the place he belongs? To play only 52 games, he must feel like the world is against him. And the fact that it's a one-year deal as well, there's a little bit of pressure. And so there should be, really. There's pressure to get it right from both a club and an individual point of view. You know, he's only got that 1 year to get it right. You know, yeah, it's he's, I don't know how to describe it, but it must feel like you go into a preseason and think, shit, I've only got 1 year to get this right. It's all on the line here next year. Everything's got to go right for me. Interesting one. One word, faith. Just got to have faith with this one. I don't know. I just feel like he's been so unlucky, but at the same time, there's a sense that he is lucky to get another year because he hasn't played any football. He's just had played no football, so he is lucky because we did invest a little bit in him to come to the football club in the first place. And I'll give him only a rating 4 out of 10, which seems harsh, but you can't give him much more than that. And I keep weighing up about this risk. The risk is worth it. I think he can play. I really do. And I think he can make us so much better. So much better. And we can see what these intercept defenders do for really good football teams. And I think he's one of those. But he also has not so much a hardness, but he's got that desperation about him. He's got that courage about him as well. 1 year deal interests me. The club mustn't be confident. And why would they be? Why would they be? So there is this element of, I don't know, we're just going to roll the dice with him for 1 more year because I think it's worth it. That we can have him on our list for a year because if it does work, he's going to make us a lot better. What do you think about Caleb Marchbank? Do you like him? Can you see? Is there any possibility that his body's going to be right to get a good chunk of games under his belt next year so that we've got something to work with beyond 2023? Because at 25, 26 years of age, there's still, if we can get his body right, there's a good 5 or 6 years left in the body of Caleb Marchbank. Tell me what you think.